please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi, welcome to Overdrive. You're watching the show with me, Sohini Dutt. Now today on the show, we've driven an exotic Italian beauty with a turbocharged V8 and 600 horses under its hood. I'm talking of the Ferrari Portofino, and we've sent Shumi to Italy to drive this car, and here's what he thinks about it.
There's so many things wrong with this picture. Why am I in town? Why is it so cold? Why is it so grey? But what's right with this picture is I have exactly the right Ferrari for the occasion. In a way, the most un-Ferrari of Ferraris. In a way, essentially a Ferrari, the new Portofino. Now we know that this car was meant to replace the California T, which is one of the most popular Ferraris, and Ferrari is very happy with what the California did for the brand, and that was to bring a whole bunch of new customers who would ordinarily not buy Ferraris into their fold. This car takes the game one step forward, and in a sense what they've done is they've kept the exterior dimensions of that car about the same because it's a good urban practical Ferrari. This is still a +2, but they've given it a little bit more power. They've increased the space inside, and they've created a package that is even more persuasive than that car, and this time they've given it an Italian name. This is the Portofino, named after the famous Italian village. Let's talk about this car. First things first, the engine continues the same line, although it's a significantly updated engine. There's new pistons, new con rods, and it makes 40 PS more. But the story of this engine is that the twin turbo is designed not to let you feel any turbo lag. And honestly, we drove the car through trying conditions today because there have been low speed limits, there's been traffic, there's rain, there are wet roads, and there are really bumpy roads. And I'll tell you why we are on bumpy roads in a moment. But despite all of these conditions, this car has held its own, and at no point did I feel like I put my foot on the gas and the car didn't respond immediately. Obviously, in comfort mode, the response is a little bit slower than in sport mode, but basically, you're not found wanting, and I think they've nailed that part of the game. And of course, it does sound totally like a Ferrari. When you get on the gas a little bit, the increase in the audio volume, when you're going around a corner fast, that noise, very, very Ferrari noises. I really, really enjoy driving it. What they've also done is they've updated the suspension. So now you've got slightly stiffer springs front and rear. The weight distribution is rear biased. And what it does for this car is give it a set of stiffness that I thought would be a problem. But we've been driving really bumpy roads today, and I have to say, again, the car has held its own because it's surprisingly comfortable for a Ferrari. I'm not going to say that it's your average family hatchback or anything, but for a Ferrari, it holds its own. The difference between sport mode and comfort mode, you can feel it, and it makes the car really easy to drive. And if you look at it from Ferrari's perspective, which is the idea that this is the car that you'd buy as a practical Ferrari that you might actually use. You take your kids, you'd go for a vacation drive and that kind of thing. This would actually work. And in all of those areas, this car is actually quite good because the boot space is bigger despite the retractable metal hardtop, and it's got a little more space inside. So this is the cabin of the Portofino. A lot of things to talk about here. Obviously, it's a Ferrari, so you begin at the steering wheel, and this has the carbon fiber wheel with the shift lights on top, and I think that's an optional feature. But there's two things that you want to note about here. One is, of course, the Manettino, which controls a whole bunch of settings about how the car feels. So it's in comfort mode, currently selected. The dampers are relatively soft. And they absorb a lot, and of course you can go to sport mode where it backs off traction control a little bit, stiffens up the dampers, steering response seems to be a little bit sharper, but you also get a button here, and what that does is when you press it temporarily, it goes back into comfort mode so you can handle a bumpy road, and that's what is called the bumpy road button. And of course you press it again and it goes right back into sport mode. The first thing that you notice about this car is that they've got this whole dash in a fully horizontal kind of format. This particular car is trimmed in carbon fiber. The press shots and everything are cars that have silver trim instead. There's a big 10-inch touchscreen here, and the touchscreen has been slightly reorganized to make it a little bit easier to use, but honestly I've seen higher resolution screens than this. They do have a JBL professional music system, which is the optional higher music system in this particular car. Again, I haven't heard anything outside of navigation prompts for it because as far as I can tell, sports guys will tell you that Ferraris have music systems there, and therefore this one isn't really relevant. They've reorganized the cabin a little bit, although the exterior dimension remains the same, and it gives this cabin a little bit more space. But more importantly, these seats that I'm sitting on are now very, very thin frames, magnesium for lightness, and that allows them to really squish the seat back, and when they squish the seat back, what you get is a little bit more space at the back. This is a Ferrari with a retractable hardtop roof. So let's go ahead and show you what that roof looks like. That's what it sounds like inside the cabin. You can hear the ambient, and here we go with the roof. It takes 14 seconds. It's a lighter roof than before. It's completely redesigned, and Ferrari says this time it deploys up to 40 kilometers an hour, and it takes only 14 seconds to deploy the roof fully. All I have to do is sit and hold the button, and there's a little indication there that says the roof is opening, and when it's done, it will beep and say the roof is now open. The overall idea of this car is that here's a Ferrari that Ferrari thinks you would drive every day. Would you do this in India? I would say no, you wouldn't. India is still too difficult a car, but in a place like this in Europe, this is something that you would drive every day. What we know about this is it replaces the California. It will come to India roughly around July this year. Starting prices will be over 3.5 crores. That's where the California T exited. I think this will be a more expensive car. I'm going to say 3.8 to 4 crores is where this car is going to come and sit. And if you were to buy this car, what you would discover is that you wouldn't use it every day, but you'd be more willing to use it on a regular basis than any other Ferrari that I can think of, and that's what the game is about. Overall, the Portofino, it looks brilliant, and that's the one thing that I was saving for last, because just look at it. It doesn't look like a super aggressive or a very, very aerodynamic Ferrari. The elegance and curve of line has returned to this shape. The L-shaped headlamps are a very, very signature feature, and just look at the number of vents and scoops and stuff that they've done for the aerodynamics. Honestly, it's not all good news on that front, because if you look at some of the dust on the side of the headlight, that's the vents working, and when the tire rotates, it throws some of the muck out through the headlamp. And it makes your car look a little bit dirtier, but it does have aerodynamic benefits. It does create less drag in the wheel well, and that has it makes the car more efficient. They've done underbody work where some of the cladding is now not only shaped, it's part of the rigidity structure of this car. And in all of those areas, it's a more advanced car than before, which you will get for not a lot more money than the California T. And that's the whole story of the Portofino. We're driving it in Italy today, but by June, July, this car will be in India. Expect a story from that on Overdrive. We are, of course, ODMag on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Stay tuned and watch out for more stories on the Portofino on our website at overdrive.in.
And you've joined us on our Auto Selector segment here on the show, where our Overdrive editor Shumi will answer all of your queries. Hi Shumi, our first question this week comes in from Rajat. He wants to buy a 110cc scooter and has a budget of 70,000 rupees. He wants to know whether the Honda Activa 5G is a good buy, or is there any other scooter that he should go for?
Rajat, the Activa 5G is the safest scooter you could buy with your money, but it's not the best scooter, I think. You'd get better value for about the same amount of money if, for example, you went for the Access 125. I know I'm asking you to increase the displacement of the scooter you're buying, but trust me, it's a far superior scooter in practically every way you can think of, and I don't think the price is significantly higher. Within the 110cc scooters though, you've also got some solid options. If you want something sporty, look at the Scooty Zest. It's brilliant, but it's very, very underrated. Sharing the engine with that is the usual alternative to the Activa, and that would be the Jupiter.
Well, our next question, Shumi, comes in from Cheng Fung. He says that he wants to buy 2 automatic petrol cars. One is for city driving, and he's currently looking at either the Ready Go, the Celerio, or the Quit. The price bracket would be between 4.5 to 6 lakh rupees. The second car is for driving outstation about 300 kilometers once in a month. His shortlist is the Baleno CVT, the Nissan Micra, or the Ignis. Price is about 8 to 8.5 lakh rupees. That is what he is ready to shell out. Is it worth the pay, or should he shell out a lakh more for the Baleno CVT?
Chen, I would start your search at the Quid. The Renault Quid won our small car test very recently. The option to that is the Maruti Celerio, which we've also really enjoyed having on our lockdown fleet. So those are the 2 cars that I would say you need to pick between for your city car. For the highway car, I think the choice is much simpler. The Baleno CVT just blows everything else out of the water, and that's just the car you should be looking for.
Well, our final question this week comes in from Sushrut. He writes in saying that of late he has noticed some clattery noise from under the front lower area of his Duke 390 under acceleration, but not at a constant speed. It feels something that is about to snap on the motorcycle. What could it be?
Sushrut, old motorcycles rattle a bit. There's no getting away from it. In the specific case of the KTM, check your belly pan. That's probably where the noise is coming from. And when they get loose, it does make something's about to break clattery kind of noise. Not really a critical problem. I've had it on mine too. But Honestly, there is no confidence with which I can give you this judgment because diagnosing a noise remotely over television, it's really hard to do accurately.
Well, just like Sushrut and the others, if you have any more queries, don't hesitate to send them to us on helpdesk@overdrive.co.in. That is our email address. You can also send them to us via Facebook or Twitter, and we will get Shumi to answer them for you on the show. For now, though, it's time for us to check out the hottest launches from this week.
The 2018 Mercedes-Benz S-Class has been launched in India at a price of Rs 1.33 crore for the S350D and Rs 1.37 crore for the S450 petrol variants. The 2018 Mercedes-Benz S-Class is the first BS6 compliant vehicle in India and has been launched 2 years before the new emission regulations come into effect in 2020. This is a CKD model that will be built in Mercedes-Benz Chakan plant in India. The OM656 is the 3-litre inline 6-cylinder engine and produces 290 PS of power and 600 Nm of torque and can run on BS4 fuel as well, and this is the most powerful diesel engine made by Mercedes-Benz in India. The S450 meanwhile is powered by a 3-litre twin-turbocharged V6 petrol producing 372 PS of max power and 500 Nm of max torque. Watch out for a detailed review on the show soon. Triumph Motorcycles has launched the Bonneville Speedmaster in India at a price of Rs 11.11 lakh ex-showroom. Triumph dealerships spread across the country had already started accepting bookings, and the deliveries of the Speedmaster will start shortly. The 2018 Bonneville Speedmaster is based on the T120 and offers a more classic design inspired by the classic American cruisers of the 50s and the 60s. The Speedmaster employs the twin-cylinder, liquid-cooled 1200cc engine that also does duty on the Bonneville T120, Bobber and the Thruxton. It makes about 77 PS of power and 106 Nm of torque. In terms of competition, the Speedmaster is expected to take on the likes of the Harley-Davidson Sportster 1200 Custom and the Indian Scout 60. Watch out for our first ride review of this cruiser soon.
Now, Triumph has just updated its hugely popular Tiger 800 with a list of changes that it claims will make this adventure tourer a lot better. Now, we sent Abhay to Morocco to test this bike on the road as well as off it, and here's what he thinks about it.
Adventure tourers were devised to travel the world on two wheels, weren't they? So I'm in Morocco, in the foothills of the Atlas Mountains, with the new Tiger 800 from Triumph. The bike has received some serious upgrades, mechanical and cosmetic both, and we are going to ride this bike on road and off it to see how it feels. The Tiger 800 is one of the most popular adventure touring motorcycles in the country. In fact, riders the world over are favouring middleweight adventure tourers like the Tiger 800 today, as they are lighter, friendlier and easier to ride as compared to full-sized ADVs. For 2018, Triumph has given the smaller Tiger a host of updates. The engine and gearbox get upgrades like a new, lighter crank and shorter ratios to enhance all-round performance. The updated Tiger 800 also boasts high equipment levels like an all-digital TFT display which looks crisp and is excellent to use on the go. Of course, the electronics package has been updated as well, and the off-road specific XCA version now features an additional riding mode called the Off-Road Pro mode to improve rideability of tarmac. So over 200 changes to this motorcycle is what Triumph tells us. Of course, a lot of them outside of the engine, like the new fly screen. It's got easier adjustment and it has 5 different positions now, apart from which you have a wind deflector as well. And then look at the headlights. These are all LED headlamps. And of course, I really love the way the DRLs look when you're riding in the day. The LED headlights are on offer only on the top of the line XRT and XCA versions, but the LED DRLs are available on lower variants too. On the ergonomics front, the handlebar has been moved closer to the rider, while the seat uses a new compound to offer better comfort, and all variants now come equipped with height adjustable seats. In terms of equipment, the road-focused XR lineup now gets new suspension from Showa, while all variants now use an updated braking system from Bembo. The changes to the engine and transmission make sure that the bike feels a lot better in terms of riding, be it on road or off it. but the bigger highlight in terms of all the changes to me is the new exhaust note. The Tiger sounds a lot more pleasing to the ears now, doesn't sound as whiny as the older one, which is a good feeling on the road. The shorter gear ratios mean the Tiger offers more torque at low speeds, which makes it more engaging, especially the XRT, which is a lot more fun to ride on tarmac. The XRT's Showa suspension is set up well and is also adjustable, which helped me fine-tune the compression and rebound to suit my riding style. And thanks to the revised compound, the seat feels very comfortable, and I'm convinced a full day in the saddle should not be a problem at all. What's more, except for the base XR variant, all versions of the Tiger 800 now come equipped with heated handlebar grips as standard, which was a huge boon while riding in the cold weather in Morocco. So we've just finished our on-road sessions with this, the Tiger 800 XRT, and I have to say the bike does feel a lot more confident, especially when you're taking corners. This is a smaller 19-inch front wheel as compared to the XCA's 21-inch front wheel, and the seat height is lower as well, which does make a lot of difference, especially in terms of the confidence levels on road. Next up was the off-road session on the XCA variant. With its bigger 21-inch front wheel and dual-purpose Pirelli Scorpion Rally tires, the Tiger felt extremely confident going fast over gravel. As compared to the XRT, the XCA gets longer travel WP suspension, which makes a huge difference to the bike's handling off tarmac. On-road, the suspension felt soft, but the setup helped a lot when riding off-road in terms of soaking in bumps and ruts without letting the bike lose its composure. In fact, despite its size, the Tiger 800 felt surprisingly nimble, and I had almost no trouble standing up on the foot pegs and opening the throttle wide. Triumph says it has spent a lot of time improving the XCA's dynamics off-road, and the results speak for themselves given how confident and easy the bike is to ride. So we're just back from the off-roading session on the XCA. As you can see, the bike has special purpose knobbly tires that will help you go off-road. We've had a chance to try the off-road Pro mode on this motorcycle off tarmac, which makes it really interesting because off-road Pro mode basically turns ABS off for the rear wheel, so you could lock the rear wheel and skid the bike to change direction. There's no traction control, which means you can slide the bike around using the engine's power. And of course, the shorter first gear does make a lot of difference when it comes to going off-road, climbing up some steep inclines. It's a lot of work that the bike does for you, and it does make you feel and look good. I have no doubts in saying that the middleweight adventure touring category of motorcycles is one of the most popular ones in India today. In fact, these bikes are a lot more popular than fed sports bikes because people are actually beginning to ride their motorcycles the way they are meant to be, and bikes are not meant for showing off anymore in India. And the Tiger 800 has been one of the most successful ones, and its new avatar for 2018 with all the updates and the changes to it, this motorcycle feels a lot more competent than it was, be it on road or off it. Triumph will be launching this motorcycle in India in the coming months around March to April 2018, which is when we will be able to bring you a full comprehensive road test of the bike.
We've also got a detailed review of this motorcycle on the OVERDRIVE website, so do check that out. With that, it's a wrap on this week's episode of OVERDRIVE, but remember, stay in touch with the team through Facebook as well as Twitter, and follow our latest videos on our YouTube channel. We'll see you next week. Until then, goodbye and many thanks for watching.